All right, here, as requested, I'm going to make a tier list for the preset Oblivion classes. So this is for the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. There are 21 standard classes. Typically, you develop your own custom class, but these are the 21 classes. I'm going to go through each one and rank them on a tier list. The fact is, none of them are S because that would be a custom class. If they were S, I would play them. But they are fun to RP. They have really cool art, and I'm not going to use this chart up here a ton, but it's kind of nice to see the different spreads. And this will be a quick overview of the specializations. So each class has a specialization, which would be combat, magic, or stealth. Then they have two favorite attributes, which I think makes a very small difference, but it can make a little difference. And then 7 major skills. Now, major skills level much faster, almost 2/3 faster. And if it's also a skill that fits into your specialization, they level more than twice as fast. So the big thing here is we want useful, powerful skills in your major skills. That's what's going to get them up into A. And by useful, I mean things that help you achieve your goals in Oblivion. And if your goal, like me, is to complete quests, kill enemies, close Oblivion gates, become the leaders of the factions, then this tier list is for you. If your goal is to just be silly or RP, that's not really what this is about. You know, Speechcraft is cool for RP. It is very cool for RP, but it's not useful to complete quests or to kill enemies. So we're going to get started. The Acrobat specialization, Stealth. That is the worst of the specializations, actually by quite a large margin. None of these skills are very good. Sneak and Marksman are probably the top two, and Light Armor is not terrible, but they're just not that good. Speaking of that, the attributes are Agility and Endurance. Endurance is pretty good. With Marksman, Agility is not bad, but we're wasting our majors on Security, on Speechcraft. With Block and Blade, you know, you could be decent at combat, but the fact is you wasted that on Stealth specialization, and there is no magic whatsoever in here. And Oblivion is an older RPG. You know, if you've ever played Arena or Daggerfall, the old Elder Scrolls, you need magic, and Oblivion is the same. Skyrim kind of changed that mold, but with no magic major skills whatsoever, you're really hindering yourself. It's a big pain. So I'm going to put this in the D tier. Where is the Acrobat? I can't even find him. There we go. Maybe high D because some of those skills are pretty good, but I don't know. We'll see. Agent, specialization, Stealth, oofta. Attributes are worse, Agility and Personality instead of Endurance, but they get Illusion. You know, again, Security and Speechcraft is bad. Mercantile is not better than Blade, but they have Marksman, you know, just like them. Honestly, I think these guys are pretty much the same as the Acrobat, but Illusion is pretty useful as a major skill. It's a good major skill. You're going to want to use Illusion. I will bump them just above. The Agent is just above the Acrobat, but they're also in the D tier. They're pretty garbage. Illusion is not enough to carry you. Charm is really useful. Paralyze is good, especially if you're using this build. You're going to need it. But no armor. Like there's no armor, no magic with no armor. The benefit of not wearing armor is you're better at magic, and there's no magic major skills. Obviously, you can still use magic, but some magic skills like Destruction and Restoration level really slowly. Like you want them as majors or a specialization, or it's just going to take, forever. All right, next we have the Archer. This is a combat specialization, which is a little bit better than Stealth because it is nice to get your weapon skill and your armorer skill up faster. If you're wearing heavy armor, also that will go up faster. However, they're wearing light armor. And on top of that, it's got blade, blunt, and hand-to-hand. That's just a lot of waste. Pick one. You know, in any build, you should never have all three of these. In fact, you should never have hand-to-hand unless if you're RPing. But if you are going to use hand-to-hand, don't use blade or blunt. Use hand-to-hand. And for some reason, a lot of these classes use all three. I think that's a terrible choice. But the fact is, we do have light armor, marksman, sneak. Again, no magic, but we're going to be able to be decent in combat, at least until we get to the late game. It'll be annoying how slow our magic skills will supplement that, but you could do okay playing an archer. This is going to be low C. You could argue it's high D tier, but it's not very good. Again, no magic. You're going to see a theme here. The more magic, the better. Next, the assassin, stealth specialization, acrobatics, alchemy, blade, light armor, marksman, security, sneak. Again, security's bad. A lot of this is really bad. No magic whatsoever except alchemy, which is probably the easiest to level, aside from maybe conjuration. He doesn't. How is he different than an agent? He doesn't have illusion. Oh, I guess he has light armor. It's kind of a slight benefit that he's got light armor, but man, I don't know. I think this is mid D tier again. Maybe, again, with these first few, you can argue some of these switching around, and I could be convinced, but none of them are good. Barbarian, fearsome brutes who inspires fear and dread, and they look really cool. Combat, speed, and strength. Armorer, athletics. Of course, again, blade, blunt, and hand-to-hand. All three of them. It's ridiculous. If you major in light armor, you probably don't want to wear heavy armor, which kind of sucks, but that's okay. You can wear light armor. The reason you wear heavy armor is because alteration just gets rid of the weight from your heavy armor. You can just use feather. It's really cheap. And that also allows you to get more alteration skill, which allows you to use shield. It's really useful. It's really powerful. Man. However, you could create a good warrior with this build. So the barbarian's going to be maybe a high C because this is actually a good warrior. Where the other one was the archer was wasting a lot of its skills on crap, like marksman and sneak. Where, like, at least this is like, I'm going for the warrior. I'm going all in. Still kind of terrible, but, what are you going to do? Bard, stealth, intelligence, personality, man. Ooh, we have some magic, illusion, and alchemy. However, mercantile and speechcraft, oh, man, I don't know. With block's pretty good. You can fight wearing your armor. It'll work okay. This is low C. Bard is low C. Where are they? They're not good, frankly. It's just, man, a lot of the same. Here we go. Battle Mage. Magic, specialization, perfect. That's a huge boost. Magic skills are the best skills. If you watch my tier list for major skills to choose from, the best ones are destruction, alteration, illusion. We need some magic. They also don't use hand-to-hand, so if you want to level your strength at all, you could go around and punch some mud crabs as this guy. Not that, honestly, I'd probably never do that. I like to level naturally. I don't ever efficiently level. You could also wear heavy armor and repair it early game to get that endurance up, and then maybe as you care more about later game, take it off if you want to use a full mage build, or keep it on and just deal with the 95% spell efficiency. So really, there's lots of good options here. You could worry about if leveling too quickly. If you did a lot of alchemy and conjuration, it could be kind of difficult. But honestly, this is A tier. We're not using too much magic. It's not all 7 magic skills, which can be kind of overwhelming, but there's a lot of it. I'm going to put the Battle Mage at maybe a low A or high B, you could argue, but the Battle Mage is good. If the attribute was endurance, maybe we got rid of alchemy, and you only should pick one blade or blunt, so it's not like this is good compared to a custom class. Mysticism's maybe not a good choice, but compared to what we've seen, this is more than one step above those guys. Crusader, combat, every time it's combat, blade, blunt, hand-to-hand, absolutely ridiculous, though they do get destruction and restoration. Those are both very good. The problem with restoration, and I talked about this in my other tier list with major skills. Here, I'll quick pull it over. Restoration, let's zoom in, levels so slowly. You get 0.6 experience per cast. It's not good. Even as a major skill, as a combat specialization, it's going to take a ton of casts for him. Destruction, on the other hand, going from this many casts to level it all the way up to this many it's nice. It actually feels different. Now, if you pick magic specialization, it'd be possible to get that up without a trainer. Restoration, even if you pick it as a major and a specialization, you're going to be relying on a trainer for those later levels. We're still zoomed in. So I'm going to have to say Ah, man, where are we going to put the Crusader? This could be a low B. We'll put him at B. We don't have others in the B, so there's not much to compare him. Crusader is B. Not good, but not bad either. Not terrible. You could be a Crusader. They're pretty cool. Healer. Magic specialization is pretty good. Terrible attribute choices. Willpower is great, but only late game. Speechcraft, Mercantile are terrible, big wastes. But we do have Alteration, Destruction, and Restoration. Those are all useful. Granted, it's all the willpower skills. Not the end of the world, though, to be honest, because you don't really need to power level willpower. If you're just getting +2 into it or +3 into it as you go, that's plenty. Alchemy, as long as you're not randomly gaining 20 levels into alchemy because you're making 1,000 potions, you're fine. Just make alchemy potions as you go. It can cause you to be over leveled, but really this is a good mix. I might put this as a low A because having destruction early on and being able to get destruction up, destruction is by far your biggest source of damage. This is what you need. So with a magic specialization, honestly, you could get rid of everything, just magic and destruction. That would put me in the B tier. Add in illusion and alteration and alchemy and restoration. Okay, this is a low A tier. We're going to put him below the battle mage. Maybe a high B tier, you could argue. Because personality and he does have speechcraft. Okay, we'll say high B tier. High B tier. He's definitely beating out the Crusader. The Knight, again, personality, terrible choice. Every time it's combat, block, blade. Blade, blunt, and hand-to-hand. All three of the strength skills, again, man, that's just rough. Block and heavy armor, those can go pretty well. So this could be a good warrior. You have illusion, that'll help a lot, actually. It's just not enough magic, just illusion. Especially when you have illusion, speechcraft is completely worthless. That's why speechcraft is so bad, because you can just charm for 2 seconds for 100 points. And you never need a speechcraft. And that's pretty early game. Even if you need a charm for 50, you get that spell for free just joining the Mages Guild. So it's so easy to get. And even if you don't pick it as a major, you can just click through the minigame and level it. Major skills are good because they level faster. You never are really like, oh, I wish I could level my speechcraft faster. So a knight, gosh, that's either low B or high C. I mean, he's kind of like the barbarian. He could be a good warrior. He's got illusion, which puts him above the barbarian in my opinion, but he's not good. Sorry, ignore that cat freaking out in the background. Mage. The problem with a mage is these are all, you could level really fast if you're using all these skills. And it'd be hard to make sure you're getting your right sigil stones to keep up, your right enchants, getting enough money. And there's no endurance. What are you going to do? Are you going to wear heavy armor early on and have it really low and just have really bad magic so you can gain endurance? You do actually need, that's the one attribute that you want to gain some endurance. You can't just get +1 to endurance. At a minimum, you need to be getting +2. Now you could be putting going to a trainer and gaining 5 points into block, which would be really cheap because you only have 5 into block. It'll cost just a few hundred gold at the beginning of the game, and that'll let you get +3 endurance on a level up. But that's a headache. And so just because of that, a mage is going to be B tier. I'd say still probably better than the healer because you do have all the skills you need. These are the good skills. Your magic specialization, still very powerful. It's just, in terms of attributes with leveling, it can be kind of annoying where if you just have heavy armor as a major or armorer as a major, you can wear heavy armor and repair it if you only picked one of those, and that would be enough to gift you a lot of endurance without gaining you too many levels because they don't level too fast. Where conjuration is so easy to level, it gives you 6 experience, 700 cast. This is to go from 5 skill to 100. That's just, you just don't need to make it a major at all. The monk. Man, hand-to-hand. I'm sorry, hand-to-hand's just bad. Though he does have alteration, so he can cast feather, but he has no armor skill, so what armor is he going to wear? Oh man, athletics, acrobatics. The idea is he can bounce around, but somebody in heavy armor with feather could bounce around just as much. This isn't a very good build. So there's a lot of waste here. Security's bad. Athletics and acrobatics, people hate on these a lot, but Like their idea is, oh, you can't control when it levels up. That's fake. People don't know what they're talking about. That's not a bad thing. Um, but there's no power here in this. Like, what are you going to kill people with? You're going to have to use something that's not a major skill, which is going to level way slower. And you didn't even pick the right specialization. So everything that you need to use to kill your enemies is going to be really slow. It's going to be a big headache. You're not going to have very much fun as a monk. Maybe high D. I don't know. The D tier, honestly, they're just going in the D tier. I'm not really going to organize them too much. The Nightblade, magic specialization, speed and willpower, not the best attribute choices. Acrobatics, I love. Alteration, good. Athletics, okay. Blade, ooh, wow, this is actually good. So you do have all 3 willpower skills, but again, I've said that's not a big deal. Alchemy levels pretty quickly, so you'll still be able to power level your int with alchemy and conjuration. This is good. I think if this was heavy armor, if we had endurance, there's things that could make this better. But switch out athletics for something useful, like sneak maybe, or illusion. But this is really good. I like this a lot. I would put this in A tier. What was that, Nightblade? Maybe below Battle Mage, but honestly, it's hard to say. Battle Mage. You could argue either way. They're both good. I like that Blade. With the Blade as a major skill, it's going to augment that destruction. Maybe you want to put an enchant on your Blade weapon and use weakness spells to, help boost that Blade. That'd be pretty cool, and you're not wasted on blunt. And athletics can be fun to run faster, but it's just not that good. All right, Pilgrim. Oof. Endurance is good, but personality. Light armor. Block. Blunt. Mercantile, security, and speedcraft. So his bottom 3 skills here are completely worthless. He's just wasting a lot of majors. I guess these 4 can be okay, but no magic whatsoever. Stealth. Blunt, well, fine. It is worse than Blade because it's slower. Like, how are you going to kill things past level 10? Like, you're just going to get a blunt weapon and smack them over and over and over again? I just don't see the point of this. Like, you're gonna struggle to do anything. You don't have illusion. You don't have sneak. You don't even move fast. Like, where is the power coming in from this build? This is D tier for sure. Endurance is great, but like, what's 5 endurance going to do for your 10 health? It's not going to let you kill anything. I'm going to put this as a low one too, because like, it's just bad. Light armor too. Man. Rogue. Combat's cool. Personality sucks. What are we going to do? Illusion's good. No sneak though to augment it. Mercantile's kind of a waste. Athletics is kind of a waste. Alchemy's a little bit of a waste. It's a good, really, really powerful skill, but pardon me. You don't need it. Blade and block can work together. Blade, block, and light armor, it's like just like the Pilgrim. Yeah, you can fight, and early game's going to be easy, but you're going to need to augment that with something as you get later into the game. And maybe with alchemy, the thing is, alchemy's really good, and it can just carry any of these builds. Whether it's a major skill or a minor, it doesn't matter. So it's like you could be in the D tier, but just use alchemy, and it won't matter. Like, obviously, the game is beatable with all of these classes. So Rogue, maybe we'll put low C, because it does have illusion. It is combat instead of stealth, which I prefer. It doesn't have sneak, but honestly, with illusion, you don't really need it. And it'll be nice that alchemy levels so fast. Like, you can just rely on alchemy to carry you. The Scout, combat, endurance, speed, acrobatics. Interesting. So if you wanted to power level endurance, maybe you go to a trainer and get some heavy armor. Not that you'd ever have to, but the only magic is alchemy. There's going to be a theme. If there's no magic, like, the Scout's just not very good. He'll be good at combat. He can repair his gear. The reason Armorer is so good as a major skill is because getting your Armorer to 50 allows you to repair your magic equipment faster. Where, like, this Rogue's going to take a long time to do that. The Pilgrim and the Scout won't. I don't like the Pilgrim just because, like, everything, the whole thing sucks. I don't want to talk about him anymore. This guy's got alchemy, which is nice. Gosh. I mean, he's C or D tier, just like the Pilgrim and all these. Honestly, what is this, 11 of them? They're just kind of all bad. And you could argue, like, oh no, this should be C tier or whatever. Or this should be there. Only these 5 have been good so far. All of these have been very bad. I would not recommend ever playing them. Sorcerer. Ooh, here we go. Endurance and intelligence. 2 very good attributes that you actually want. A bunch of magic. Alteration and destruction. Oh, and restoration. I thought it didn't have that for a second. So it's got all the willpower. Does it have all of the intelligence? Mysticism. Yep. And all the intelligence skills. With heavy armor. I guess. This is pretty good. You know, because you can still repair your gear. And that'll level your endurance. It's a lot like the mage, to be honest. Except instead of willpower, he's got endurance. And instead of illusion, he's got heavy armor. And honestly, I think that's, personally, I like these builds more. But I would say this guy's pretty much the same as the mage. You know, we'll put him, I'll put him as high B. Just higher than the mage because I like the heavy armor build. But a lot of people like no armor on their mage. I think, especially early game, being able to wear heavy armor, have it start at a higher skill, and then repair it to gain that armor, it will help you get your endurance up really quickly, and then you can just not worry about them anymore. And then you could choose between, do I want to keep going with my heavy armor, or do I want to go to full mage? Where with the mage, it's hard to get your endurance up. You have to kind of play goofy to do it, and I don't like playing that way. So that's why the sorcerer is above the mage in my book. Spell sword. Ooh. Blade block heavy armor. Ooh. Is this S? Honestly, the only reason it's not S in my book is because he's got block instead of armor, and restoration probably shouldn't be on there. Like, he should just pick something else, like acrobatics, because it's just a waste. Or sneak or something. And maybe willpower is a bad attribute choice early game. You know, pick luck or strength or the carry weight. But man, this is good. Spell sword is definitely the best one I've seen so far. Not even close. All of these are really good. Illusion's awesome. Destruction. I like the heavy armor build, just like I said with the spell sword. He can still repair it. He can use blade and block to augment his defenses and his offenses. You know, remember, magic, it doesn't matter what you're carrying. It's not like you can't use a weapon. And so this way, his blade damage, the blade skill is what causes you to do high damage. It's not your strength. You know, and you've probably seen that if you watch any of my other videos. You know, I could whip over this weapon damage formula really quick. We'll zoom in just really fast. So if I have 20 base damage, we'll start on a starting character. Say we picked blade as a major skill. You're doing 6 damage. You pick the warrior sign, you're still doing 6 damage. Doesn't make a difference. Instead of picking the warrior sign, you get your major skill blade, level up your blade to 60. It's a big damage boost. You know, if you don't pick blade as a major, this is your starting multiplier from blade. Even if you had 100 strength, you'd still only do 3 damage. If you only had starting strength of 40, heck, you're a Breton of 30, with 100 blade, you do 15 damage. The multiplier for blade is way bigger. The difference between really low blade to really high blade is massive. It's 8 times more damage. Where the difference between like starting strength, we'll say 40 to 100, you know, it's like a 25-30% increase. It's not a big difference. Obviously, you still want to do it, but if you're not there really fast, it's not going to make or break you. You know, and if your blade isn't high, those differences in strength make very small differences. You know, 50 to 60 is 0.4 damage, and it rounds down. So having blade as a major skill is very useful. That's all I was saying. Thief, another one of these. Security, speechcraft, mercantile. This has got to be the F tier. Holy cow. The only thing that would make this worse is like picking personality. Man. This sucks. This is probably the worst one I've seen. I mean, maybe the others were just like this, but the thief is really bad. Like, you just have to play things that aren't your major skills. Otherwise, you're going to be really, really weak. And that's okay. Like, you can do that. And people do play that way. It's not a fun way to play. The warrior, gosh, again, you got all 3 endurance skills, all 3 strength skills. It's like those are the 2 you want to be able to level, because if you can't level strength, you can't carry. You don't have much carry weight. And if you can't level endurance, you're low on health, which is really important. So, gosh, this is just bad. It was C tier. You know, maybe he's whatever. I like the warriors more than the stealthy guys, so I'll put him on that side of C tier. But again, C and excuse me, C and D tier don't really matter. And Witch Hunter. Oh, interesting. I like the Witch Hunter a lot. He's got Destruction. He doesn't have Alteration or Restoration, but that's okay. He's got Conjuration, Mysticism, and Alchemy, so it'll be kind of difficult to level your intelligence. Marksman Security is kind of bad, but it could be interesting. You could do some interesting things with the Witch Hunter. I think Witch Hunter I will put in A tier because honestly, I don't like that all three intelligence skills are in there, and athletics is a weird choice, and security is a weird choice. But you could argue he's high B. Yeah, I don't think I'd put him up there with these three. Spell Sword takes the cake. Spell Sword's the best by far. You should be a Spell Sword. The others are good too. Battle Mage, Nightblade are pretty good. Any of these five, totally acceptable. You'll be able to do okay. Crusader is kind of on the fence. You might struggle with Crusader. And you have to do some smart play if you're being like a mage or a healer, or really any of these. You have to do smart play. These ones are just, man, you're just wasting your class. You're going to have so many skills that you want to use that you have to level, that they're going to level so slow because they're not your major skill, they're not your specialization, and you're going to be stuck with like speechcraft and security. And you're like, oh, thank God I can pick this lock. But all right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry about the cough, and hopefully I get better soon. Thank you.